Chapter 47. Profound Implications. Principal Kamiko sat alone in her office, her eyes fixed on the top priority report detailing Kaizen's chakra nature results. The usually serene expression on her face wavered as she scanned the data, each line more perplexing than the last. The report highlighted Kaizen's extraordinary affinities for water, yin and yang releases, each surpassing the maximum measurable capacity of the Academy's most advanced device. "This can't be right," Kamiko muttered, her brow furrowing in disbelief. She flipped through the pages again, hoping to find some error or misinterpretation. The implications of these results were staggering, and she wasn't ready to accept them without scrutiny. Doubt gnawed at her, and she wondered if the device had malfunctioned or if there had been a mistake in the testing process. The office, usually a place of quiet contemplation, now felt stifling as Kamiko wrestled with the enormity of the information before her. She reached for the intercom and called for the head scientist responsible for the test. "Get Saito here immediately," she instructed her secretary, her voice betraying the urgency she felt. Minutes later, Saito, a seasoned scientist with a reputation for meticulous work, entered the office. He noticed the tension in Kamiko's posture and the open report on her desk. "You wanted to see me, Principal Kamiko?" he asked, his tone respectful yet curious. Kamiko didn't waste any time. "Explain this to me," she said, pointing to the highlighted sections of the report. "These readings can't be accurate. What happened during the test?" Saito adjusted his glasses and leaned over the desk to review the data. "Principal Kamiko, I understand your skepticism. These results are unprecedented, but I assure you the device was functioning perfectly. We ran multiple confirmation tests to verify the initial readings." Kamiko's eyes narrowed. "Multiple tests? And they all showed the same results?" "Yes," Saito confirmed. "Kaizen's affinities for water, yin and yang releases are off the charts. The machine couldn't even quantify them." Kamiko leaned back in her chair, her mind racing. If what Saito said was true, Kaizen possessed potential that went far beyond anything she had ever seen. "This means we need to rethink our approach entirely," she said, more to herself than to Saito. "Precisely," Saito agreed. "Kaizen's unique chakra nature requires specialized training and resources. We've never encountered someone with such potential." Kamiko nodded, already planning the next steps. "I'll need a detailed explanation of the confirmation tests you conducted, Saito, and prepare a summary of your findings for the third Hokage and Sakumo Hatake. They need to be informed immediately." "Of course," Saito said, bowing slightly before he left the office. Left alone again, Kamiko allowed herself a moment to process the situation. Kaizen's results were completely unexpected. She couldn't believe that she was still underestimating Kaizen after all this time. Taking a deep breath, she began drafting a plan to provide him with the resources and guidance he would need with his affinities in mind. This plan would involve the top instructors at the Academy and, crucially, the insight and experience of the third Hokage and Sakumo Hatake. Kamiko knew that nurturing Kaizen's potential was a responsibility that required careful coordination and the full support of Konoha's leadership. Kamiko's thoughts were interrupted by a knock on the door. Her secretary entered, handing her the confirmation tests and a summary from Saito. "Thank you," she said, taking the documents. She glanced over them quickly, impressed by the thoroughness of the tests. She then turned her attention to the draft report she would send to the third Hokage and Sakumo. As she wrote, she outlined the proposed steps the Academy would take to support Kaizen's development and highlighted the importance of their involvement in the process. Meanwhile, at the Hokage's office, Hiruzen sat down with the detailed report on Kaizen's chakra nature results spread out before him on the desk. His calm demeanor shifted to one of deep contemplation as he processed the implications of the findings. His eyes scanned the data, and his brow furrowed in concentration. The sheer magnitude of Kaizen's affinities for water, yin and yang was staggering. Hiruzen had seen many extraordinary shinobi in his time, but these results reminded him of the monsters he grew up watching. The first Hokage and Madara Uchiha were the only names he could think of that would be able to match such results. He thought of Tobirama Sensei and believed that his affinity for water might have been just as strong. Even then, all of this speculation would be in all of their primes. Hiruzen doubted they would have been in the same league as Kaizen's affinities at the same age. He leaned back in his chair, rubbing his chin thoughtfully as he considered the potential impact on the village. The readings seemed to defy conventional understanding, pushing the boundaries of what was previously thought possible. Hiruzen's mind went through the historical records of shinobi, who had exceptional chakra control and affinities, none of whom matched what he was seeing in Kaizen's report. The only shinobi that I can think of that might come close to the same affinity with water would be Tobirama-sensei and the Hozuki clan from the Hidden Mist village. It's very strange though, I haven't witnessed anyone with such strong affinities at such a young age. Not to mention we already cross-reference Kaizen's DNA among all DNA samples we have ever captured, with Hozuki included. Nothing matched whatsoever. The third Hokage's office, adorned with relics and mementos from past battles and significant events in Konoha's history, seemed to hold its breath as Hiruzen delved deeper into his thoughts. He recalled the highest recorded affinity he had ever seen, his own fire release affinity, which had peaked at 84 on the very device that now struggled to quantify Kaizen's power. The stark comparison underscored the rarity and potential of Kaizen's abilities. Extraordinary, he murmured, a mix of awe and concern in his voice. Hiruzen knew that such strong affinities in one so young were both a blessing and a potential burden. The village had always prized individuals with unique abilities, but this level of potential came with its own set of risks and responsibilities. Kaizen was already considered as a future pillar of our village, but these results amplify that statement numerous times over. For him to already have affinities stronger than my highest result at the age of 4, there is simply no telling where his potential lies and what he can achieve for the village. Hiruzen's concern also extended to the possible dangers. Powerful affinities could lead to overconfidence or a lack of balance in one's abilities. Moreover, the political implications within the village and beyond could not be ignored. Such power, if not properly managed, could become a target for those who sought to exploit or diminish Konoha's strength. Reaching for a scroll, Hiruzen began drafting a message to Sakumo Hatake, Kaizen's sensei. He knew that Sakumo's involvement would be crucial in shaping Kaizen's abilities and mindset. As he wrote, Hiruzen also planned to call for an urgent meeting with Principal Kamiko. The coordinated effort of the Academy's leadership, alongside Sakumo's mentorship, would be essential in developing a tailored training regimen for Kaizen. Hiruzen's strategy aimed not only at nurturing Kaizen's potential but also at safeguarding the village's interests. His talent has gotten to a point that needs addressing. He can no longer be treated like another normal student. As the leader of Konoha, I cannot ignore such an important future asset to our village. If his will of fire is as strong as I've heard from Kamiko and Sakumo, then he might very well become a candidate for Hokage in the next couple of decades. With the message to Sakumo completed, Hiruzen sealed the scroll and handed it to a trusted Anbu operative. "Deliver this to Sakumo Hatake immediately," he instructed. The Anbu nodded and disappeared in a blur, leaving Hiruzen to ponder the next steps. Hiruzen then turned his attention to organizing a comprehensive review of the training protocols for prodigious students like Kaizen. He would need the insights of his most trusted advisors to ensure that every aspect of Kaizen's development was considered. The third Hokage's mind was a whirl of strategies and contingencies, each designed to maximize the potential and mitigate the risks associated with Kaizen's extraordinary affinities. His mindset returned to levels seen in the previous war, his namesake of the professor showing its validity. The rest of the day proceeded with Sakumo, Kamiko, and Hiruzen reacting to the reports and further updates. Hiruzen called for the two to meet with him and some of his trusted elders to discuss the initial findings more in depth. Danzo, Koharu, and Homura were initially furious at Hiruzen for keeping Kaizen's talent hidden for so long, but they were quickly rebuked by Hiruzen and Kamiko. They were informed of the circumstances surrounding Kaizen and the context of his rapid development as a result of his young age. After all, in normal circumstances, nobody would believe Kaizen's progression at 4 years old over the course of a little over a month if they hadn't witnessed it like Hiruzen, Sakumo, and Kamiko. If Kaizen were in the room, he would have been surprised by the three elders' reactions. After receiving the explanations, they understood Hiruzen's reasons and were no longer upset. Kaizen, who is familiar with the Naruto series, would never have placed the word logic in the same sentence as the three elders, but this reality was constantly proving to be starkly different in many ways. From there, the talks of Kaizen and his potential continued. After much deliberation, considering the seriousness of the situation and the necessity for the right decision to be made, they decided it was best to call a meeting of the clan heads of the village, along with some of the elite shinobi stationed within the village that might be helpful in this process. While Hiruzen and the elders scheduled the meeting, Principal Kamiko informed Kaizen that they would need to postpone their meeting for now. Kaizen accepted her decision and thanked her for informing him before returning to his studies. If I had to guess, my chakra nature results must have caused quite a stir among the higher-ups in the village. If the people in this world are as competent as I suspect, then they will likely start forming plans for me beyond what's already been provided by Sakumo-sensei and Principal Kamiko. I can't blame them. Anyone with common sense would choose to do the same. I just wonder what they will have in mind.